Topp. På vegne av NROF Firda så ønsker jeg dere hjertelig velkommen til kveldens webinar, Reservistens rolle i krig og erfaringer fra Ukraina. Reservistens rolle i krig og krise er mangfoldig og avgjørende, fra å bidra med sivile funksjoner til å oppfylle operative militære oppgaver. I kveld så får vi et unikt innblikk i dette gjennom førstehåndserfaring fra fronten i Ukraina. Vi er svært glad for å ha med oss Vlad, som vil dele sine erfaringer og refleksjoner om reservistens rolle som soldat i dag. Etter innlegget så vil det bli mulig for å stille spørsmål, enten i chat, eller om dere rekker opp hånda. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Vlad. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello to everyone. And my name is Vlad, and I'm an active serviceman in the armed forces of Ukraine. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to discuss such important topics. And so I should start from very beginning. I think, like for the most of you, maybe, for me, the army was never my main professional path. In civilian life, I had a regular job, but I was called to defend my country in these difficult times. My war began back in 2014 when Ukrainians went to Maidan to defend their European future. It became clear then that it was no longer possible to turn us into slaves of Russia through political manipulations, and so peaceful protests quickly escalated into violent confrontation. The leaders of our country ran away to Russia, and in their place came the Russian army. So me, like thousands of other men, I joined the resistance, and during this resistance, back in 2014, when everything started, many were killed, many were captured. So unfortunately, among those who was captured was me. So I endured torture, terrible conditions of captivity and abuse. I call this period of my life like falling into the abyss. When Russians captured me, I was wearing civilian clothes. So they stripped me completely, and those days I remember I was in a very good athletic shape, strong, enduring, with a confident look. I remember the voice behind me doing an inspection, and he said, look at this one, he's definitely a special force guy. Keep him separate. So that's when I understood that they would make me pay in full. So I was constantly blindfolded. I could hear people screaming in other rooms. Russians were asking me the same questions over and over, and questions I could not answer. I was beaten many times with different, for example, metal pipes, or I think Also, they used the whips, used the electric shocks, and I was losing consciousness very often and fell off the chair. Kept getting worse. It kept getting worse and worse. So my face was smashed, and blood ran from my mouth. Many ribs were broken, and breathing was very difficult. Once again, they asked me a question I could not answer, and then I remember that the guy in front of me, so I could not see him because I was blindfolded, and he said, "If you're not gonna answer now, I will shut your leg." After the silence or no answer, he made a shot, and the bullet passed through my leg and made a huge hole. So through the gap in my blindfold, I saw the large pool of blood on the floor, and the bleeding was very intense, and I quickly began to lose strength. I took several more heavy hits into my face. Those knocked me off the chair, and they get me back. I feel like that was the military boots, so it was very heavy, and my mind became very foggy, and I could no longer sit on the chair. So the last thing I remember from the day that they promised me to shoot the other leg if I did not tell everything. What do they mean by everything? I don't know, actually. Because every normal person, after hours and hours of torturing, will tell you everything, even the information he doesn't know. So just to stop this. And so they told me that they will shoot my second leg, and so I felt myself very badly. And the last thing I told them that probably you should shoot in the head, because nothing after because. So after that, darkness. I opened my eyes a few days later. My leg was bandaged, and the local doctor said that my pulse had been so weak, so they thought I was dead. And only after some time, when they decided to throw the body, I don't know where, away or just into the trash, they did realize that I was still warm. And after that, they decided to bandage my leg and threw my body into a cellar, where I spent, I don't know, maybe few weeks at least. So they shot. I think that the shot stopped the massive bleeding, because the gunpowder and flames passed through the hole in the leg, and so it's kind of so that was the reason, I think, while blood stopped, and I'm not actually died. So different people interrogated me, but the torture was no longer aimed at killing. It became more refined. Months after months, they were transporting me from place to place, hiding in different, I don't know, hidden places, and different people were trying to ask the same questions, which I did not know answers, and but people were not the same. They looked more educated, more their look was more fine, more clean, and I don't know who were they, but they looked like maybe FSB guys, or I don't know, whatever. And they never beaten me, or they mostly used methods like plastic bags over the head, so you could not breathe, or water torturing, or so nothing that leave any kind of anything on my skin, or so they were trying to keep me alive, but get information. So anyway, I was the recent guy who just was fighting for the freedom, and I was not even an officer, just a soldier on basic level. So no useful information for them. Months after, months later, I was added to the prisoner exchange list and traded for Russian soldiers. After returning home, I spent many years trying to restore my physical and mental health. I tried to start life over again, and in general, I consider myself lucky to have come back alive, even though badly damaged. Not everyone had the same chance I did. As for Russian prisoners of war, based on both public and non-public information available to me, uh, Ukraine strictly follows all internationally established conventions, laws, and rules of warfare in matters of detaining prisoners of war. But me personally, I haven't experienced like getting the dealing with the prisoners or anything related to this. So it's the short story of myself in 2014, how it started for me. As you understand that I'm now again doing the job like every man in our country, trying to defend Ukraine from the enemy, from Russia. And so, ending this small part, I want to say that after those days, meanwhile, so Russia continued its aggression, gradually seizing our territories, but Ukrainians never give up. And until the February 2022, when we faced the full-scale invasion of Russian army. And as for the invasion, full invasion, when it started, on that moment, many of us could not believe that a full-scale invasion was truly possible. We kept hearing Russian lies through different media and refused to accept reality. Others were convinced that war is inevitable. So among those, was me, and 3 days before the invasion, I went to the military office to join the army. So it was the local military office in my town. But paper bureaucracy required going through all the formal steps, and luckily for me, I never received the military ID in that time, and the war caught me at home because the area where the military office was located were captured by enemies like in 10 hours later. So on the night of February 24, columns of enemy armored vehicles crossed the Ukrainians' border and started to move quickly towards Kiev. It was one of many directions they were trying to invade Ukraine. All the night, I heard the explosions, and at 5 p.m. approximately, I was standing on the side of the on the side of the road, trying to understand what's happening. And at that moment, the Russian tank passed me at full speed while I was standing there. So the enemy advanced at a terrifying pace and pushing deeper into our land. Most Ukrainians did not even so the start of the resistance, civilian resistance, was totally without any kind of guns or rifles, because most of Ukrainians did not even own the hunting rifles. So civilians faced the invaders almost defenseless. Some went out onto the roads with bare hands, so sometimes standing as a human shields. And the first major mistake of our government was I think that was the lack of early evacuation. Because of this, a huge number of civilians fell under occupation. So some were captured, many were killed, tortured, or deported into enemy territory to prisons and camps. Many of them remain in captivity or still missing today. My city, where I live, was also occupied. Some of my family members and close ones were trapped there. I myself ended up in the part of the city that the enemy failed to capture. A natural barrier, the river, stopped their advance. In fact, the Russians stalled on the same defense line that had once held back the Wehrmacht from Kiev in Second World War. So my own house stood almost directly on the front line, and every night Russians tried to storm our positions and break into the city, into this exact part of the city. So some of us literally watched the battles from the windows of their homes. And but I think what helped us that we quickly built primitive defensive fortifications that allowed us to hold the enemy on the opposite bank of the river. And I'm sorry, but I have to conceal the exact locations of those battles. I think you understand. So the enemy tried every possible way to break through, and they were actually stopped. And when the Russians realized they could not advance further, they turned to actually genocide in the territories they had already seized. So I think that this brings us to the very important thing, very important topic I wanted to talk about, and its name is human nature beyond the laws of war. So my thoughts, war has always revealed the darkest sides of human nature. In theory, there are laws, conventions, and moral codes meant to limit brutality, but unfortunately, in practice, on occupied territories, these rules often collapse, and the torture and the execution of civilians by Russian forces illustrate what happens when power and fear and impunity combine. And it is not only about ideology or orders from above. It's about the human condition when boundaries does not exist anymore. And so I think everyone will agree that torture is not a military necessity, and it rarely produces useful information. And instead, it serves a different purpose, and this purpose is like domination. So when soldiers control every breath of a defenseless civilian, they experience an absolute authority. So the victim's pain become like a proof of power. And for the aggressor, it is not about justice or survival. It's about feeding an inner monster, inner hunger for control. And the act of killing civilians follows the same logic. It's not self-defense. It is execution. Such military criminals are driven by adrenaline, and in combat, the body is flooded with stress hormones, sharpening senses, and the focus is very narrowed. But when the fight ends, your enemy is tied, like blindfolded or totally unarmed. But the level of adrenaline remains. So some soldiers release it through violence against the helpless people. So it is some kind of form of self-regulation, turning war into just a blood sport. Um, Another factor is the sense of permission. So occupy occupiers, soldiers often feel untouchable. They are far from their homeland, surrounded by civilians who cannot resist. Uh, their commanders, rarely punish them for what they are doing, and in fact, silence from leadership becomes an indirect blessing. So, with with no accountability, cruelty just escalates, like, um, and killing once may shock the conscience, but the killing rapidly numbs it. So, over time, what was once unthinkable becomes just a routine. And there is also some psychological mechanism of this kind of dehumanization, I think, to kill without the hesitation. So the soldier must strip victims of identity, like separate them. So civilians are branded as like enemies or traitors or simply less than human, for example. Once, so they kind of reduced to objects. So their suffering is no longer so meaningful, and torture then becomes an experiment, just a way to test the limits of pain without any moral. Um, in total, war zones are filled with fear, hunger, and exhaustion. So soldiers who feel powerless against the real military threats may um, channel rage onto the weakest targets. Civilians become like easy bodies on which to unload humiliation and anger. So this cycle of projection fuels the endless cruelty, I think. And the also the absence of punishment is the final catalyst. In any society, laws restrain behavior. When those laws vanish, instinct and impulse surface. So in occupied territories, Russian soldiers often act as both judge and uh, executioner. So they know that international courts are distant and the local resistance has no authority. So the tragedy is that such violence is not a military strategy, but a collapse of humanity. Each each civilian tortured or executed is like a reminder that war does not only destroy cities. Uh, the soldier who delights in power over the helpless loses his own humanity as surely as he takes another life. And when under the pressure of the armed forces of Ukraine, the enemy was forced to retreat from the parts of the territories it had seized. The world finally saw the truth about what the Russian army really is. And it is not an army, but a vast organization of criminals, murderers, looters, and rapists. They disregard every law and every moral code and living just behind the piles of corpses, defenseless civilians, women, children, and so they leave scorched earth and destroy cities just reduced to smoldering ruins. And these horrible things, I think, could be even more horrible if Um, if we had no civilian resistance, and so I think I have some really important thoughts about how the primary role of civilian resistance. What is the primary role of civilian resistance in repelling the first wave, of enemy forces? So when the invasion began, we realized that the our army alone would not be enough to stop the first strike, and ordinary people also stood up to defend. And it looked simple, but every step mattered. So our first step that we done, I think, was the road signs. So we painted over the road signs, and so that enemy tanks and convoys and did not know where to go. So maybe it sounds stupid, but not everyone has used GPS, and they actually have been trying to check their paths by looking at the road signs. So this was very helpful that we painted over the road signs, and the enemy convoys did not know where to go. So they get lost and stopped, wasted time, and that gave us a chance uh, to prepare for other steps that we do not know that time. So we should invent them. I think now we are prepared more than enough. But that time, the second important thing was the information. So those who stayed under occupation were sending the information to Ukrainian army about the location of enemy vehicles, enemy forces, where the columns were moving, where the soldiers were based, and uh, some of some used chats, some made calls, other found different ways how to send the information. And thanks to these messages, our army could strike more accurately and effectively. Um, what else? I think the next important thing, the third step, it was like people on the streets. We went out right in front of the tanks, many of us, and we blocked the roads with our bare hands. It looked desperate, but sometimes it worked. Sometimes it ended in tragedy. But even then, we showed that we would not surrender without resistance. And other thing, uh, we were helping the army all the time, like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We fed the soldiers, we shared the fuel, we carried the water, we built the fortifications, we helped with the whatever we had, because the army cannot fight without support. And together, I think these steps worked, and the enemy did not expect such resistance, so they became confused, lost time and strengths, and we won the most important thing: precious hours and days so that army could organize the defense. It was not a strategy written on paper. It was the living struggle of ordinary people. Someone painted over a sign, someone sent the message, someone stood on the road, someone cooked soup for the soldiers, and all of it together became the first shield of Ukraine. And so what does it mean for us that the civilian resistance, it's very important when it's prepared, and if it's prepared, if you have a plan, it can happen that the civilian resistance can be the significant part of the, like, I don't know, defensive doctrine, like, maybe. And it should not be chaotic. So everyone can learn from our experience, and I will try to explain the main things I think should be done by this kind of organization, which you have. So, as I said, civilian resistance should not be chaotic. It should be planned, and if it's organized right, it saves lives. So slows down the enemy and gives the army time. Here, so main things is first of all, it's safety. So safety of people. That means an evacuation plan for every family. So it's the most important thing is to protect those who cannot fight, who are not helpful, just human targets. So it's old people, children, sick people, and women. Every family should have a simple plan: where to go, which road, uh, backup road, how to contact each other in emergency, and a small bag with essentials like documents, maybe medicine, water, warm clothes, some money. And this plan should be practiced. It's the very important thing. It should be practiced several times so nobody panics when the chaos starts. So it's rule number one: don't stay for your things. Life is more important. And that we experienced. A lot of people were captured or under occupation just because they do not want to leave their houses, to leave their stuff, like. And the ending of this, everyone understand. So the second thing, so first is the safety that should be planned and trained a few times at least, so everyone know what to do, because the chaos and panic is destructible. Like when the time goes like minutes, seconds, you should act very precisely, and everything should be step by step planned, and you should think and act fast. So the second thing, I think it's an information. My personal experience, so before war started, I had the primitive Chinese, like $5 radio, but it was not just a push to talk radio. It was the cheap radio, but I could adjust the frequencies. So when everything started, after I saw this tank passing by, I came back home, turned on the radio, and start scanning different bands. So I have found many channels where enemy was trying to communicate each other because they kind of lost in our area, and they spread their forces like everywhere. So and they've been trying to find each other, to locate each other, and their mistake was they just was um, giving each other the actual coordinates where they are through the unencrypted and not encrypted channels. So we used that information to hit the enemy. So the information, radios, and backup communication channels. So civilians give the army the critical data, where the enemy is, where the columns are moving, where the vehicles and where they are hiding, and it's just the cheap radios like Baofeng, or you can use messengers or offline apps. But as we experienced, the enemy trying to kill the GSM mobile phones as quickly as possible to break the communication, because the communication is I think is one of the biggest problems on the front line. But also, so information radios, just everyone should have those. They are cheap, and there should be main and backup frequencies, ideally in different bands. And the enemy will always try to shut down as I said, the GPS and the GSM. So backups are essential, and communication means survival. The third thing, electricity. What do I mean? It's autonomy. And so power is usually the first thing to go down. And that's why every area should have the generators, batteries, solar panels, and I don't know, any kind of stored energy. This keeps radios working, lights on, fridges for medicine running, and phones charged. And uh, at the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine was like everywhere was totally dark, total darkness. But in our days, like, I have the two type fuel and gasoline and gas, natural gas, the same generators for electricity, because we have problems with the lights from time to time. Today is also we had in the morning this problem. But even if the main main power station will fall, we can stay autonomous for weeks, because every cafe, every house, everyone have the generators now, and we will just keep going. Nothing really dramatical will happen. Next thing, the force is like structure. So who is responsible for what? I mean, in this kind of organization, there must be the gathering points and people responsible for evacuation, communication, supplies. No heavy bureaucracy, just the simple network, a coordinator, a logician, and communicator, or maybe a medic. it's like army on minimals, but it's very easy, but to do, and it can be done, I think, with no problem, no issues. So the next thing, rear. So for this kind of organization, what's the purpose? And the rear, like, is logistics. Civilians in the rear handle everything, like hiding supplies, moving food, giving fuel, opening shelters. Good logistics allow soldiers to hold their positions longer. And this exact issue we had, like army logistics in Ukraine. I do not talk about the other countries. It's just for us, related to us, but I don't know. As for others, just explaining what was the main problems, what were the main problems for us. So good logistics made by civilians allow soldiers to hold their positions longer, and it's in the rear. On the front line or close to the front line, civilian resistance is equal to reconnaissance. So those who living close to the front are the army's eyes, and short, clear reports where the vehicles are, which way they are moving, how many troops. Not stories, just facts. So watch, note, send information. Things this is like 6 most important things of the, like, which characterizes the civil resistance organization. And in short, civilian resistance must be simple, clear, and trained in advance, and like evacuation plan, reliable communication, backup power, clear structure, and logistics in the rear, and reconnaissance at the front. This makes ordinary people into a organized and useful force. So it's not about random heroes. It's about preparation, order, and saving lives, most of all. And what else? Everyone know that it's already almost 4 years of the war. Well, after start of the full-scale invasion, I think we are doing good, and we are doing good because we have allies in Europe, but also I think the Putin's plan to push further into Europe are clear and undeniable. Even if it looks not, it will happen next day, tomorrow, like, or a week later. I believe that he already have this plan on his wall, and maybe in 5 years, in 10 years, he will do it if everything will go the way like it goes now. And everyone watching news, everyone knows about those drones in Poland, and so you don't have to be very smart to understand that everything will go forward and increase and increase, and until he will find this red line or not. So he does not hide his ambitions to influence neighbors and expand territories under his control. And for us, this means a simple choice. For allies, like either help Ukraine stop the aggressor now, or later face a stronger, better prepared Russia that would have absorbed us. Because, like, I think that now NATO faces a critical decision, and if allies give Ukraine weapons, money, or resources, okay, like intelligence and sanctions, they help us keep independence. And a stronger Ukrainian army doesn't just defend its land, it becomes like a buffer, a shield between Europe and Russian aggression. And that lowers the risk of war on NATO soil. And if help is like absent or inadequate, the Russian gains time and resources to push further. Then not only Ukraine will be threatened, and very strong Russian army will threaten the whole Europe, probably. And the two most battle-tested armies on the continent, or even in the whole world, is Ukrainian army and the Russian army. And would they can be both under Kremlin control at the far end if help will be not enough, if we'll have not enough resources. And this is not like, don't think it's not a speculation, it's simple logic. Weak defense invites attack. So the decision is simple and harsh. uh, help help now to avoid paying much more later. And it's not only about weapons, it's about politics, sanctions, logistics, and sustained support. And the time is like to act is now. If Europe and NATO choose the right path, they preserve stability, and if they don't, the consequences will be for worse. That's that should how it should be done, I think. And so our allies should decide, are they want to be Ukrainian army one of two the most experienced and armies in the world, like in tactics of like modern warfare, to be the NATO army, or they want the Russian army to be like, or Ukraine will be equal to Russian army, so they will have only one big experienced army, and NATO will start the same path like we done 3.5 years before, like from the scratch, trying to fight with the modern warfare tactics, with drones and with no experience. So too much talking. Maybe I should stop and you will ask questions because I can do it for a longer time even.
So I think we open for questions now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, super.
There's a comment. I think the poor Russian in Kaliningrad is the next to get help. What's your thought about stuff going on there?
Kaliningrad? I have to remind you that I'm not army, like military analytic or political. I'm just a soldier. So I'm not listening what people say. I'm watching what they do. So you should, when you're watching news, you should switch off the sound and watch only images. So if you see that enemy gathering troops, forces near the border or somewhere else, that is exactly what you see. So make your own decision, but do not listen what everyone say, because like it's like two different things. Everyone can say anything, but what they do. It's my only answer to this question. You will find the answer just by logical thinking and watching the image.
Very good. Another question. How was the first combat experience for you? Did you feel prepared before? And what's the critical lesson you learn on your first combat experience?
So, the first combat experience, I was not a soldier, as I told you before. I was at home, and I saw first time I saw the tank, and then next few days the enemy troops were trying to cross the river, enter our part of the city. So I was scared. The levels of adrenaline was very high. Like on the first week, I lost probably almost 10 kilos of my weight, and was not eating at all, just drinking water, like few hours of sleep during the night, because I was the only man from our family who actually was like on duty, like 24 hours a day. At night, I was somewhere on the street with the soldiers, or trying to understand and find out what's happening. But from this moment, I think it was the mistake, because we were like the women and other who were not who were not fighters. So they stayed at home, and the enemy was like 100 meters from us each night. And so it was very stupid to stay there. And I understand that we made the decision like after 2 weeks maybe, to like go back somewhere to hide, to move everyone. And this was the first mistake. But for me, very high levels of adrenaline, they compensated everything. So I don't know if it works for everyone, but I was not like scared and hiding. I was acting, trying to do something, and and only maybe after a week, when we moved back, um, I felt that I'm tired, and then I started to feel something like emotions. But I remember few nights when the enemy was trying to storm our positions. I remember that I send a message to someone that I hope we will be still alive at the morning. So I hope I will see the sunrise. And yeah, that moment I was scared because there was an understanding that there are too many guns, too many people, too many soldiers, and we could not pass through this. So I was like, I thought that we will be dead, everyone. But then people, humans are getting used to anything, like any level of stress after some time, when it's like when you feel the stress very long time, you're getting used to it, and you understand how high level it was only after when it reduces. So months after, when I already joined the army and I was fighting on the front line, I never experienced the same level of stress. Sometimes even it was fun, but it's not normal, I think, for anyone. But you should adapt, and this kind of the way it's kind of how your body adapts to everything. I think this is the answer, but for me.
Guys, one more question, Vlad. What training or equipment did you miss most after the fight? New question. What training or equipment, after the fighting started? What training and equipment did you miss the most after the fighting started?
Like when the full-scale invasion started? Or...
Yes.
Me as a civilian, yeah, I wish I could have any kind of guns to protect myself, but the guys, the soldiers, as I told you before, that I had this cheap Chinese radio Baofeng, so somehow it happened that they had no radios, like no communication at all. I don't know how it's possible, but when I found out that the enemy using not encrypted channels to communicate, I found those channels, and I found the like brigade general in my area, and I told him that, look, I have the information, I have locations, I have everything. Just use these frequencies, listen, and you will, like, we will win. And the answer of this general was, we don't have radios. I said, how? But how do you communicate? He said, we use WhatsApp. So it just blew my mind. So, and when after 3 weeks or when 1 month passed, I packed the stuff of my wife and sent her to a border. And my friends from Italy came to the Ukrainian border. They took my wife with her cats, with our cats, and instead they gave me the big box of cheap radios, and I bring those back and gave the way to every soldier I saw, so we could communicate between our positions, because they have no radios. And like few days or week later, The Russians finally found those GSM transmitters and they shut them down. So WhatsApp does not work anymore. So the most crucial thing was the radios, I think. Yeah. Communication.
We'll take questions for 5 more minutes. New question.
Okay.
In terms of training, preparation, and logistics, what do you wish the government should have focused on before the invasion?
Training, once again, training, logistics, and
preparation. What would you wish the government, the Ukrainian government, should have focused on before the invasion?
So, as I told you before, our government used the media channels and told us that everything is fine. So stay calm. Yes, if we had more time, if they told us to evacuate people, because everyone knew where Russians located, so where they will try to enter points on the border. So we could avoid like thousands and thousands of the civilian deaths. So preparation, I think the answer, we could be more prepared, and this mistake is a government mistake, because they, as they explain, they do not want the panic. Okay, we do not panic because we're dying. That's very effective.
This is a question from me.
Oh, okay.
The Scandinavian population and the European population. How do you think we should prepare? Should the government do more to prepare civilians like today, or what's your opinions on that?
I will not answer directly, but everyone should understand that globally, the humanity reached the point when everyone started to fight. We having upcoming wars on the east and other places, and it's kind of big disbalance. So also, if you will go through the 2000 years of written history, you will understand that any country, like once in 100 years, fighting somewhere inside or outside. And my best wish is that you or any other country, Norway or any other country, you should stay united, no matter of what, because enemy will try to separate you, to destroy you from, first of all, if anyone want to invade your country or anything like that, they will try to destabilize you from the inside. And Russia is doing this all over the world, everywhere in Europe. You can see those red flags everywhere, and it's like part of the war. So for us, for Ukraine, it was the language issue. I think for Norway is also related, like on the east we speak that way, on the west we speak that way. You all Norwegians, we all Ukrainians. And the Russia, what they lost, In 2014, I was already an adult man, so I spoke Russian language all my life until the start of the full-scale invasion, and only after that I switched to Ukrainian language. So I think 75% probably of our of Ukrainians spoke Russian. So they probably thought, okay, a lot of people speak Russian. Then if we will come, if we will, the invasion will be very fast because nobody will like will try to defend because they speak Russian. We Russians, okay, Russia, please save us. That was the mistake. So no matter of what, if we speak Ukrainian or Russian, it's our inner problems, and nobody of us will let anyone from the outside to come and to decide what we should do. It's like Ukrainian thing, you know. We will fight each other, but it's not your problem. It's our country. We can do inside whatever we want. But when we found the enemy from outside, we immediately became united. So, but as for me, that was the one of the most reasonable things for Vladimir Putin to start the invasion. So he thought that the most of population in Ukraine is Russian speaking, so that equal that they are more Russian than Ukrainians. But as we can see, no. And this time I think the percentage is now opposite. So 75% of people now started to speak Ukrainian, and 25 are speaking Russian. And even though those who speak Russian are mostly went out of the country to somewhere in Europe, or they are somewhere on the east, like very close to the battlefront, very close to the front line. So stay united, no matter what, and nobody will will never conquer you. No, never. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vlad. Martha, vil du si noen ord på slutten her?
Yep. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience with us. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say that it was truly valuable and moving to hear your perspective. And we sincerely appreciate your openness and the strength it takes to speak about such experiences. So on behalf of the Norwegian Reservist Association, I can only say thank you so much for having this session with us.
It's a great honor for me to be chosen as a voice of Ukraine on this during this webinar. So my best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and bye-bye for now.